Hi students, this is Ram Mohan, JL in History, Government Junior College, Kachiguda. Today, in our first year history, we are going to discuss chapter 14, National Phases. One is the early phase and the later phase. So, chapter 14, only national movement, the first phase or early phase. In the chapter, now discussing the introduction about national movement. National movement began in India when Europeans, especially Britishers, started their colonial rule from 1757 onwards. The national movement began, but there was no great phase or great leaders also. 1757 was the year when Plassey War was occurred in Bengal area. Then onwards, the British supremacy started over the provinces of India. And especially in 1857, when Sipai Mutiny, the first blow against the Britishers, was started, that gives a spirit of nationalism among the Indians. So 1857 onwards, our real national movement began. 1757 onwards, 1857, almost 100 years. After 100 years only, first time all Indians united and fought against the Britishers in 1857, that is Sipai Mutiny. Okay, 1857 to 1885, when Indian National Congress was established, that is the first part of nationalism. 1885 to when Mahatma Gandhi, okay, when he started the movements against the Britishers, okay, till the 1947, that is the second phase. So, some scholars believed that year, when 1885, the moderates era started, then onwards, until extremists began the Vande Mataram movement, that is one stage. Later, extremists to Mahatma Gandhi, next Mahatma Gandhi to independence. Like that, there are three phases or three stages there in a national movement. Anyhow, here we understood the national movement began here when Indian National Congress was established. So that is the 1885, that is the year when the movement began. So before Indian National Congress also, there were so many associations to bring the unity among the people, to bring the awareness among the common people, and to fight against the British administration, their colonial rule, their brutal reforms or their brutal principles. And here, growth of nationalism. Okay, in this chapter, first we are beginning here, growth of nationalism. So, growth of nationalism, 1857 to 1947 or 1885, when National Congress was established. Then onwards, you see 60 years of time, number of protests, number of movements done by moderates, extremists, even Mahatma Gandhi. These, their sacrifice movement, their agitation brings nationalism spirit among the Indian common people. The growth of nationalism begins from 1885 to 1947. There are several factors to increase or improve the nationalism. The first, the cause is British imperialism. British imperialism, you see, in the name of trade and commerce, they came to India, they established trade centers, and after, okay, almost 150 years, then their sovereignty was started in Bengal area by defeating Sirajuddaulah in Bengal ruler 1757. Then onwards, if you observe, the British imperialism, the British colonial rule was started. Here only they wanted to plunder the economy of India. They wanted to destroy our handicrafts, our cottage industries, our agriculture, okay, everything. They only wanted to promote their industries, okay, and their motherland. They didn't bother about Indian soil. So British imperialism begins with the advent of Plassey War. Then onwards, if you observe, in each and every corner, the British policy, the British administration reached here. Of course, other hand, if you observe, because of British imperialism, the entire India was brought under one administration, one rule, one law, and one regulation. So they brought unity politically and administratively, but they failed to achieve the dreams of the people, the dreams of the Indians, so that the growth of nationalism started and filled in the minds of the people because of British imperialism. The first cause for the growth of nationalism, that is British imperialism. And now moving to the economic exploitation. What is economic exploitation? Now you see, when British imperialism started, number of governor generals, viceroys were deployed here and they implemented different policies. There was no uniform. One governor general observed here doctrine of laws, other one implemented here subsidiary alliance. Because of their different policies here, India was economically exploited. Even our Indian intelligence like Dadabhai Naoroji, he also wrote a book. In this book, he insisted the Indians the drain of wealth, how our Indian wealth drained to England. Not only the Dadabhai Naoroji, many Indian intellectuals always stressed here, always published their comments, their writings, their views in different newspapers, how India was economically exploited. Their exploitation was done in all corners, all areas, all sectors, because they believed India as a source of their raw materials and source of to sold their manufacture or finished goods. So when industrial revolution was begun in England, their concentration to build up trade and business centers in all over the world, and with their intention, with this strong intention, they came to India and established here trade centers. They wanted raw materials, they wanted manufacturer goods, finished goods to sold out. India catered both needs of the England. Here imported, the exported to England the raw materials and imported the finished goods. So that we can observe here, India catered the needs, that both needs of the England. That's what was the final result here? Our agriculture sector gradually diminished, industrial completely destroyed. There was no cottage industries, handicrafts, all, even not only peasants, artisans, nobody had work here. Completely, exploited, destroyed, declined by the policies of, economical policies of the British government. That is second one. Now moving to the Western education. You see, before British government, India a place of different languages. Vernacular languages always promoted, spoken by the people. But British government forcefully implemented English as a official language in 1835. Before that, Persian language was official language. When William Bentinck was Governor General of India, he changed the Persian language and implemented or forcefully implemented here English language as a official language. Not only official language, it is the language of Indian intellectuals in India. That's what they promoted English language. They studied the English books, magazines. Not only that, they referred here the books of different countries also. Then only they came they came to know the French Revolution. They came to know American Revolution. They came to know the Russian, Japanese war. Everything they can understand here by referring, by reading, okay, the English language books, the newspaper, magazines, everything. So, because of Western education, English language was promoted. So, vernacular language was slowly, okay, declined here. It's their importance. Okay, the schools, colleges, English language, okay, implemented, promoted here. In universities also, they forcefully implemented English language. So with this effect, immediately the students, okay, try to learn only English language. So Western education brought the changes. And other hand also, by reading, by studying English language, common people also got to notice here, okay, the changes in Europe, how they are exercising the liberty, equality, democracy. But what happened to India? Why these people were not implementing same features, same theories in India? So they understood and they revolted against the British people and administration because of Western education. So Western education also, we can consider it is a great weapon to fight against the Britishers during the national movement. Okay. Third one is Western education. Now moving to the fourth one, reform movements. So what are the reform movements? Socio and religious. In previous chapters, we discussed many reform associations were established by the great intellectuals of India. Like Raja Rammohun Rai established Brahma Samaj, Swami Dayananda Saraswati established Arya Samaj. Like that, many societies, Theosophical Society, Prardhana Samaj, okay, Satya Shodhak Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, they're all associations, organizations, okay, and this begin here reform movements also. Social reform movements, like what are the social evils, okay, prevailed in ancient society, and the same, okay, social evils still existed during the British rule also. To eradicate this, okay, to abolish this kind of social evils from the society, number of associations were emerged in the 19th century. So with the results, the people could understand the alien ruler. They could understand the destroy, the discrimination, the exploitation. Okay, everything was done by the British government. So these reform movements not only brought the notice, brought the light of the, okay, the British government policies, their exploitation, but other hand, it awakened the people. Okay, it brought the unity among the people to fight against the social evils, and other hand, okay, it rises the national spirit, the national movement, patriotism among the Indians, among the common people also. So these are the reform movements changed the the transition from, okay, evil practices to the modern thing, traditional to modern way. So like Western education, here socio-religious movements also, okay, brought, okay, a great change among the common people and educated people also. Now moving to the next one, revival of India's culture. Okay, Before Britishers, before Europeans came to India, came to contact with India, you see, India's culture, India's traditions, customs, everything, okay, established here in a glory way. But when they entered, not only they destroyed our industry, agriculture, they destroy our culture also. Because new traditions, new customs here implemented, forcefully practiced here, they made to practice the people and conversion of their religion also from Hindu to Christianity, Islam to Christianity, and forcefully implemented their English language and abolished here the traditions of Hindu culture like sati practice. Okay, there are so many social religious practices were abolished by the English generals. So that's what even in Vedic period also, if you observe, okay, in Vedic period, the absence of the social evils, okay, the Vedic period brings here, especially brought by the Swami Dayananda Saraswati, about the gloriness of Vedas. And after that, you see the Gupta period, Maurya period, when our knowledge, science, and technology was flourished in a great way. By when Britishers started their colonial rule in India, so our glory, okay, our greatness in culture, in science, in knowledge completely declined and exploited. So that now the people, okay, not only the common people, okay, even the educated men also try to, okay, find out, figure out here the great gloriness, the ancient great gloriness of India, and they wanted to promote the glory of India in the past time to the forefront. And with this effect, you see, the people could understand how Indians were lived in, okay, before Britishers, how they lived in a happy way, how they led the life, okay, in a prosperous way. They could understand. Now they joined hands, okay, with the, okay, leaders and started their agitation and given full support to the national leaders because of revival of Indian culture. Now moving to the next one, transport and communication. See, transport and communication here, we can understand railways, okay, and airways, not airways here, that means telegraph service, banking service. These are the services implemented, practiced by the British people when colonial rule started. Actually, they promoted this transport and communication for their convenience, for their benefits, not for common Indian people, not for Indians, only to promote their, okay, industries. They promote their, okay, exploitation, economic exploitation towards the, okay, Indian industries. That's what they implemented here, okay, to plunder India's wealth, India's resources. They implemented and they facilitated, they started the construction of railway lane and remaining services also. But other hand, it helped to the Indian leaders also. Okay, they moved one corner to another corner, okay, to conduct here several meetings, to meet with the common people. They could understand the grievances of the people and what their wishes, what their demands, and what their desires and dreams. They noticed here by moving to one place to another place because of this transportation. And afterwards, communication also helped a lot to the people to understand the exploitation was done by the Britishers. Okay, and meanwhile, you can understand here the banking sector, telegraph, and railways, even roadways and waterways. All transportation, communication are developed by the Britishers because for their convenience, for their benefits only, they built here, they established here, they founded. But fortunately, it helped to the Indians also, okay, to promote here the nationalism spirit among the or across the India. That is the, okay, transport and communication. Now moving to contact with the foreign countries. So when English education was implemented, when the students started learning here English education, then they contact with the other countries also. Okay, the intellectual, Indian intellectual contact with other countries. Now they understood the books of, the writings of other nations also. They studied, okay, France Revolution, the glorious revolution of England, Russian Revolution, okay, and they studied here the First World War, the causes, the effects here. Like that, this, when the people contact with the other countries and their government, how they led their life, okay, during democracy, they could understand here. So that now they wanted to implement the same policies in India by requesting Britishers, but unfortunately, Britishers never, okay, obey or never listen or always they deaf to the ears of Indians. So like that, anyhow, the foreign relations also here are very close because of the English language. We are very close to other nations. The people of India studied in other nations also. Okay, they not only studying, and they started different organizations and different associations also. They established across the world. Okay, like that, great achievement was done because of contact with the foreign countries. Now moving to next one, press and newspapers. Press and newspapers also dragged, this one also brought the notice to the notice of the Indians, the common people, about the exploitation by the British government. You see, all vernacular languages, papers founded by Indian intellectuals. If you observe Maratha, Kesari, Bengal Gazette, Indian Mirror, Commonweal, these are all the papers always they established an anti-British government. They wrote all columns, all news, they filled with all the paper with anti-British slogans, anti-British statements only. That means they wanted to, okay, the spirit of nationalism, and they wanted to fill the minds of the Indians with the anti-British slogans, anti-British ideas only. So these papers helped a lot, okay, to the Indians. One, and second one, if you observe, the vernacular languages and gave here knowledge, gave here scientific knowledge, scientific wisdom also. Okay, by studying the newspapers, by studying the magazines, they they print here different pamphlets, and they, okay, almost they distributed each and every corner, especially during the time of a revolutionary, okay, phase. At the time, these papers, these vernacular language papers especially, made here what the people wishes, thoughts, desires, everything established in a simple way because of press and newspapers. And the promotion of, actually British government tried to promote here only English language. But come to Indians here, they always promote vernacular languages only. By reading this, the people understood the problems, the grievances of Indian society, the farmers' problems, the artisans, okay, the different professions, okay, in the society, they understood, and they made different meetings also. They held meetings each and every corner, and finally they promoted here the national spirit among the people. Now moving to the administration of Lord Lytton. Lord Lytton, one of the Governor Generals of India, he always, okay, anti-India policies. His policies are always anti-Indian policies, always exploitative policies, and his policies made here the people completely agitated, anger about the British government. Completely vernacular languages were prohibited. The press and newspapers completely banned here. There is no freedom of rights, freedom of press. So when the rights are prohibited, rights are exploited here, the people try to agitate against the Lytton government. The first time against the British Governor Generals, the people were united during the reign of Lord Lytton. You observed. You notice here, Lord Lytton, when he was the Governor General, the people were united and fought against the one Governor General, that is Lord Lytton, because of our rights, our freedom of press completely prohibited, completely abolished also. Now moving to the last one, that is Ilbert Bill. Ilbert Bill also one of the biggest bill or one of the pro-India bill, which was designed, which was implemented by Lord Ripon. He was very close to Indian people. He was very, very lenient towards the Indian intellectuals. That's what he wanted to implement a policy, a bill, that is Ilbert Bill. So this was designed by Ilbert. That's what it was named after, Ilbert. So the Ilbert Bill, the actual idea of Ilbert Bill was the Indian magistrate also, they can try to the Europeans. The Indian magistrate try to the English subjects or European subjects. So when it was declared, when it was announced in the bill, the Europeans, especially English people, started agitations. Thus, agitation is complete in a violent way. So when they started violent agitation, then the people, common people, intellectual, every Indian understood why the exploitation, why the disrespect here. All are same. You are also English one also magistrate, Indian also magistrate. England magistrate try to the subjects of the Indians, but Indian magistrate cannot have the right here or exercise the right of try the British subjects. This was great exploitation, great discrimination, especially by the Europeans, by the English people. So this is the bill which brings the unity towards the Indian national movement. So it was designed by the Britishers towards the Indian society, Indian people, but completely objected and totally rejected afterwards. So this Ilbert Bill rejection also gives a great boost to the Indians and to fight and agitate against in a different way Britishers. This is the class of the growth of nationalism in national movement. Thank you.